Welcome everyone, this is Drew, or I'm Drew, and this is Drew Does Tech, and today I'm putting together a workstation PC for a customer. Don't know how many more of these I'm going to be doing in the near future with the DRAM situation being what it is right now, and I'm just glad I put this together when I did. The customer was going to want to wait to see about sales and whatnot, and I told them realistically that if we didn't pull the trigger when we did, the RAM kit there was going to go up in excess of $200. I had to get a UDIM, a single UDIM. It's a workstation, so we're just going to let it run single channel. A single UDIM of 16 gig, and that was still $95. Right now, 32 gig RAM kits on Amazon are still in excess of $300. And I'm seeing single 64 gig UDIMs going for over $1,200. So I don't know how many more of these I'm going to be doing in the foreseeable future. So I thought, why don't we build this one and make some content for the channel. And I'm not dressed up as I normally am for these videos. It's like 30 degrees out here in Maine where I am right now. So I'm wearing layers because my shop is in the lowest part of the house, cold air drops, etc. So I'm dressed for the weather. But this is a workstation build, so we're not worrying about GPU, and it doesn't really need more than 16 gig for what the customer is going to be using it for. I am using a full-size ATX case because I got fat fingers. But for what they're using it for, we're just going to use a micro ATX board to give myself some extra room at the top to work with. We're going to give her a 1 terabyte Samsung 990 Pro, 16 gigs of DDR5. This is an Asus Prime B650MA AX2 AM5 motherboard. And we've got a Pure Rock 3 Be Quiet fan. We're going to put in a 650 watt power supply. I couldn't find any 550s, and so 650 was the lowest I could find in a modular power supply. And so that's going to future-proof it for sure, because this machine shouldn't exceed 200 watts in its current configuration. And then we're going to throw in an AMD Ryzen 5 7600X processor. So this computer is going to be more than what they need for what they're using it for, but it gives them room to upgrade in the future if they do decide they want to do more with it. It's just a workstation, so like I said, no GPU required. It is going to use two 27-inch displays, but the integrated graphics of that Ryzen 5 should handle two displays just fine without needing a discrete GPU. So this is everything we're going to put into it today, and we're going to go ahead and build it here and put it all together here on the channel. And I'm going to start with the motherboard, and then we'll go from there. I have already grabbed a BIOS update for the motherboard so I can flash it. When I was putting this build together on PC Part Picker, it did say that board might need a motherboard update, or a BIOS update, excuse me, to support that CPU. So just in case, I have an update here. I can flashback it right here on the bench. Just connect the PSU to the 8 and 24 pin connectors on the motherboard, and then plug this into the USB flashback port, and then it should be able to flash it just fine. But I'm gonna do a quick little camera magic here and get the bench set up for this, and we'll be right back. All right, so I'm back. We're on the bench here. We're going to go ahead and start with the motherboard. As you can see, this is the Asus Prime B650MA AX2. It's a micro ATX board. So we're going to start with this. It says it's AM Ryzen 9000 desktop ready, so that means we probably don't need to worry about a BIOS update. All right, that's good, because that's not a 9000 series, that's a 7000 series. So that means we should be able to boot it no problem. Okay, let's get this out of the box here. out of the box. Now, this mat on my bench is, sorry if any of this is interfering with my mic. I'll find out during editing. As I was saying though, this mat that's on this bench, why is this not closing? This is still an anti-static bag. Let me just set this here for a moment while I figure out what's going on here. There we go. There we go. So as I was saying, this mat on this bench is an anti-static mat, and so I could work with this component directly on this mat if I wanted to. I'm not going to, because it's not clean. I need to clean it. But if you don't have a mat, you also can use, sorry, I'm just trying to adjust the shot here so it's a little better. There we go. You can use the box the motherboard came in also as an anti-static surface to work on the motherboard. It is in an anti-static bag here. We'll obviously need to remove it from there. But since I know I don't need to worry about the BIOS flashback, I won't worry about that. But then what I'll do is I'll eventually, I already have them downloaded on another computer. I just need to copy them to that stick. But I have the Wi-Fi drivers just in case when I install Windows, there's an issue there. I have the Wi-Fi drivers for this board downloaded on another machine ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and take this out of the anti-static bag. Oh, before I do this, I do also want to say that you can probably already tell, but I am grounded on an anti-static wrist strap. You always want to be grounded when you're working with components just to be safe. And what I've done is I've actually taken the power supply that is going to go in this computer and I've plugged it into the power brick on the power strip on my bench. And I've put one of the screws that comes with the power supply to attach to the case into the end of the power supply where I've attached my wrist strap to ground me to this power supply. So I'm grounded on earth ground. I could also do it with the power supply I have on the bench over there, but I haven't fully verified that that power supply actually is earth grounded on its ground plug. And I mean the ground plug that you attach stuff to, not the ground plug for the outlet. That one obviously is earth grounded because it goes into the wall. So anyway, we've got the motherboard here, good to go. We're just going to run it in single channel RAM, which I've already verified in the motherboard manual. We'll go into A2, and that's usually where it is, where you would put it when you are running single channel. Again, this is just going to be a workstation. It's just going to be for web stuff. It's not even going to be for like intense workstation work. It's just going to be for web tools and dual display. So it should be able to manage everything just fine. 16 gigs of RAM with single channel RAM. And this particular CPU that I've chosen, everything should work just fine. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install the CPU. So we're just going to open this guy up here, and then this folds back here. This is an AM5 socket. I'm just going to kind of look at it before I go much further, just to see if I see any defects in the socket, like bent pins or anything like that, because I did just buy this motherboard and I would not want to accept a motherboard with a damaged socket, but it looks clean. So we're going to go ahead and install this AMD Ryzen 5 7600X. Just got to get it open. Oh, there's some tape here. And I think my sharp is out of range, so I'm going to temporarily turn this off and remove the strap because I left my sharp out of reach. And I'll be right back. There we go. And while I'm reaching, I'll get my MX4 thermal paste. The fan may very well have its own thermal paste. I will likely remove it if it does and just use the MX4 instead. I mean, you can use what comes with it, that's fine, that's why it's there. But now, sometimes it's fun to just replace it with something else. And when I build, I warranty them for 6 months, so if there's any issue with the build in the first 6 months after I put it together, I don't charge to troubleshoot and service it for the first 6 months. So, and then of course the parts are warranted for a year, so if it's an issue with the parts, we're good there. So we're going to go ahead and, whoops, before we continue, we're going to reground, and then we're going to get the socket here. Okay, now if you've never built a computer before, you may notice here, if I zoom up in the corner there by my finger, my thumb, the fat of my hand there, in that corner there's a diamond arrow, or there's a gold arrow, and there's a gold arrow also on the socket here. So we want those to line up when we drop the socket in. So we're just going to carefully place the socket over, or place the chip over the socket, and boop, it just dropped right in. So we're good to go there. And then when I close this to secure the socket, this plastic flap here should just pop right off. So let me just... sometimes they fly, but that one didn't. Alright, so the CPU socket is secured. They're pretty hard to mess up these days because on top of the arrow they have notches in the top and bottom that have to be lined up for it to go in, so you really can't misinsert a socket very easily these days. Alright, so next we're going to install the RAM. This is Clev DDR5 UDIM. I found it on Amazon for $95. And it was the cheapest RAM I could find with the current situation. So, alright, here we go. So here is the DIMM. And we're going to insert it into A2 here. Oops. It looks like I'm putting it in on the wrong side here. There we go. You can tell because there's a notch that it has to line up with. Oops. This does not want to stay in line with the slots there too well. Alright, now you do have to push with some force, but both of these locked back in place, so it should be secured. Alright, so that's installed. So then all we have left to install is the NVMe, which goes right here. So here we go. We have the Samsung 990 Pro 1 terabyte here that we're going to go ahead and install. Okay, so here it is. So I need to check the other stuff inside the motherboard box. So I'm going to probably have to move some stuff around here because I did not pull out the screws and stuff that would have came with it, including the standoff for the M.2 here. So I'm going to pause quickly because I need to safely move this motherboard off the box so I can get to that, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So I've safely removed the contents from the rest of the contents from the box here, like the I/O shield, the cables, and then the standoff screws for the M.2. So I'm just going to zip this open. And it looks like there's a spare because I can't imagine needing more than one. Okay, and that looks like a flat head bit. A 3 should be good enough for when we need to put that there. So let me just swap out this. Okay, so now we should be all set to install, whoopsie, the SSD here. So we'll just go ahead and insert it like so. The notch is on the correct side. There we go. There we go. All right. So we'll go ahead and put that guy down right there. Actually, we'll go ahead and put this screw There we go. So now, whoops. You know what? Just realized I was working without a ground again. There we go. Doesn't need to be super tight. It's just tight enough to hold it there. Alrighty. So now this is actually ready to go. So next would be to actually get the fan attached to, or the cooler attached to the CPU, and then get the CPU into the case. So I'm just looking at standoffs here. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 standoffs. It looks like, okay. So I'm going to have to take another cut here. I'm going to take another cut here to get the case out of its box and check some stuff out with it. But first, I'm going to get that fan or that cooler so we can put it here. And again, I have to step away. Alright, so I took a little time off camera there to do a little additional prep for this next step. And minus one thing, gonna need that. So next what I have to do is mount the cooler to the CPU. For AMD I have to remove these and then use the existing sockets for the backplate to attach the new pieces. So first I'm just going to swap out that bit, flat head for Phillips, and is this one big enough to fit in here? Yes it is. So I'm just going to remove the 4 screws that are here on the motherboard now, so that I can get these stock rails off here. Brackets, I guess, is the proper term. so these can just come off. And then we're going to put these 4 plastic standoffs that came with the fan kit over these standoffs that are on the board. And now we need these rails and screws, and these tell you which way the bar faces in relation to the CPU. Whoop. They're facing in the wrong direction. They're supposed to be up like this with the grooves facing up, not down. There we go. That makes a little more sense. There we go. That's why you always consult the manual. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get this first. Oh wait, I think it's said, yeah, it said in the instructions for to use configuration 2B for 3000, 5000, 7000, or 9000 processors. So we want to configure offset position 8, which is actually this one. So I'm just going to get it just tight enough for now until I get both of these in place. I usually do all-in-one coolers. This is my first time doing a fan, so I do have to consult the manual from time to time just to make sure I'm doing things correctly. All right, so one more. Whoa. Get you in there. There we go. So we'll snug you guys up. Not too snug. Just, hand snug. There we go. So it's in position 8. So that should be good. So then the next step would be to just place the fan on, or mount the cooler and the fan on. And okay. Oh, I'm an idiot. I was looking for another cover after this one, but that's actually just the paste. But I was going to remove that paste anyway. I just got to get some 99. I'll be right back. All right. Got some cotton balls here. One should be fine. All right, we're just going to wipe off this stock. Oh, sorry, I'm not even on camera. I'm just cleaning off this stock thermal paste that came on this cooler. I know that's still hard to see because the there we go. Because the motherboard is occupying so much space, it's hard to see. But there we go. I cleaned off the paste that was on it, and I'm just going to instead use some MX4. Okay, got the cap off. So we're just going to put a little bit there we go. I'm just going to wipe the nozzle off, just so it doesn't do that again the next time I try to use it. Alright, so now we just need to attach the cooler here. Oh, that one's going to be a little hard to get to. That's why they recommend you do the fan after you've put it on. That's fine. There we go. So both sides, whoops. Both sides are good and tight. Now we can reattach the fan. Just get that guy back on right there. Come on. Alright, so it's back on that side, and I'm just going to carefully turn it towards me here so I can see this side. And there we go. It's clipped on. Oops. There. Let me just carefully. There we go. So everything is in its place. There we go. So this is good to go aside from attaching the fan to the fan header. So I'm going to take another quick little break, move this somewhere out of the way so I can start getting the case ready to take this. And I wonder if I should try and post it before I do that. That would actually be a good idea. So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to post it before I install it, just to make sure it's working, and then we'll go from there. So I'll be right back. Okay, so been doing some prep off camera for the next step. Was familiarizing myself with the case. It's the Corsair 4000 RS, so it's got some pretty handy stuff included with it. Sorry, I'm just these zip ties are trying to get away from me. But one of the things that is cool about it is the motherboard mount tray actually comes out of the case. So I'm going to actually go ahead and put the motherboard onto the tray here. And alright, so I'm just coming back real quick. You can see it's in the case now. I'm about to take a break because I've been doing this longer than I originally planned, and my wife is waiting for dinner. So I'll have to come back and finish this. But just one thing I want to say about this case design. This is the Corsair 4000 RS, and remember how earlier I was singing how cool it is that the motherboard tray comes out. You can attach the motherboard tray and then put it back in, and it's all cool. No, 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 no. You might get away with that if the motherboard has its own I/O that doesn't have to be installed separately. But if you have an I/O that has to be installed separately, like this one, don't take the tray out, especially if you have a fan mounted to the motherboard. And I say that because to take this tray out, after you remove the screws, you have to tilt it up at a 45-degree angle and lift it out. So that means when you put it back in, you have to tilt it at a 45-degree angle and then lay it flat, while trying to line those ports up with that I/O shield, grounding them properly and not causing any shorts, and getting this fan in without it buttoned up against this top. So absolutely not. If you are using this case on a motherboard like this one where you have to install the I/O shield and you have the fan mounted and you've posted it outside of the case, don't take that motherboard tray out unless you have to rearrange the standoffs and it's easier for you to do it with it out. But don't attach the motherboard to it out. Leave it in the case and attach the motherboard inside the case so that you can line it up with the I/O shield correctly as you're installing it. Because that caused me a lot of grief, and I ended up having to detach the motherboard from the tray, install the tray, line the motherboard up with the I/O, reinstall the motherboard. So it just created a lot of extra steps. So don't bother with that if you're not using a motherboard that has a built-in I/O. Alright, I'm back, everyone, and had something to eat. Took a little break. We're getting there. You know, we've got the I/O installed, the motherboard's in place. Really all we have to do now, because this machine isn't using a GPU, is install the power supply, run the cables, and button it up. So I'm going to get a glove, and I'm going to install the power supply next, so then the whole machine will be grounded and I don't have to worry about being grounded myself. But I gotta grab a glove. So I do like this case. I think it is a good case. I just don't like, I like the idea of the removable motherboard tray. I just don't like the execution of it. I ended up losing some time earlier because I had, if you were watching earlier, you remember I had installed the motherboard onto the tray, and then I went to install the I/O shield onto the motherboard, and I gotta remove that. Or rather, install the I/O shield onto the case, and then install the motherboard, but that tray, when you pull it out and subsequently when you put it back in, has to be tilted at a 45-degree angle. And as such, if you've got the fan installed already, and in this case, if you have a motherboard that doesn't have like an integrated I/O shield, like some of them do, like the one I have for my computer upstairs does, then it's also going to create a problem there when you're trying to align the ports to the I/O shields and make sure the prongs are touching in a way where they'll ground the ports but without causing a short on the ports. Hold on a second here. Oh, I see. So there isn't actually a screw here, because I remember from looking at the motherboard earlier, the power supply earlier, it only has 3 screws. So where this fixture is on the case, it's not actually going into a screw, or I'm sorry, into a shaft. So it's not going to attach to anything. So I'm going to have to put 2 of the screws that came with the power supply into the case to properly secure the power supply. I wonder if I need it bigger. Oh, that's why it's not flat. It's a Phillips. All right, there we go. Alright, so the power supply is installed into the case, and we can subsequently supply the machine with power. What's great about this build is, since it's not using a GPU or anything like that, I only need the 8 and 24 pin connectors, which on this power supply are already connected into it right here. They're permanently embedded into the power supply. And then there's modular ports for other connections. So the 8 and 24 are already here. I don't have to attach any of the modular cables to this power supply. Very simple, very easy. I like it. These cables, this is another thing that makes this case nice, is it has this Velcro for built-in cable management, although zip ties were included. But all the cables I need are here. It included adapters and such for non-standard cables, but I should be able to get away with all standard cables. I just need to figure out how I want these to route through everything. So I'm going to just kind of push them all through here for now so I can see them from the other side and get an idea how I want them all to go, and then I can reroute them through if need be to make them cleaner for better cable management. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna move the Wi-Fi for now. And also I'm gonna get it plugged in so that it's got power running through it so that it's fully grounded. Let me just move the cable over to this side. All right, and then there we go. So now I can better plan from this side how I want cables run. And the power supply now has power, so it's grounding the machine. So now we just got to get the cables routed. Or I shouldn't say it's grounding the machine, it's grounding. Well, actually I'm going to turn it off because I do still need to connect the power to the board. But it being installed and plugged in, it's still providing ground, earth ground, because it's plugged in here. So it's providing a ground to then carry power to ground. So reduces chance of electrostatic. So we're just going to route these through here. But that's actually why I turned it back off, because I still have to connect these. But even so, with it not being on, it's still providing ground, like I said. Alright, so I'm just trying to get these through. I won't need all of this to get this connected, so I can snake some of it back through. I'm not actually going to connect it yet because I want to see how the rest of these are going to work before I go and connect that. All right, so this fan cable is pretty long. I can definitely route it through here or here to keep it clean. So because yeah, this is the fan control for the front fans, few fan channels, but I need to make sure I know which one this one's going into. So, but the USB ports are here. Well, no, this is audio, I think. Yeah, this is audio. This is USB. This is USB. And then there should be one that's front panel. Yep, this one's front panel, which will go right there. Okay, I'm just looking at how the pins are aligned there, because you want to make sure it lines up. So it's going to go like, yeah, it's going to go like that right there. But again, I can probably snake it through the back just to make it a little cleaner. Or at least from under here. Yeah. Yeah, if I come in from through here, because there's a strap back here I can use to hold it with. So I can strap it in there and then snake it up through and plug it in right there. That'll work, because if I try to strap it up there, it'll be too short to come back, but I can strap it to that one there. Okay, so we'll do that. All right, let's see here. And then the 8 pin is going to come up here, but I'm wanting to see about, again, maybe, oh, it's long enough. I could come in through the top with this just to keep it from being, you know, too much of an eyesore. I could bring it up through here. And then it'll just connect like so. Yep. And then I can just kind of feed that back a little bit more there. That way. And I can manage it with those Velcros back there. Very nice. I wonder if I could do something similar with the 24 pin, because there's a cover I can put here to cover this, and I don't know how much of this it leaves free. Let's see. So this kind of, whoops, slips in there. Oh, I guess it's just to cover that, to help make it less visible. Oh, that's neat. Okay. Well, maybe we won't use that, because there's going to be a black panel in there anyway, and I don't know how some of these other ones are going to snake through. But I think rather than bringing the 24 pin up through the top, as these holes are here for it to do, just because it's a lot of slack, I think it might be better to maybe come from back here. There we go. There. And then again, we can kind of manage it with the help of the Velcros back here, and then feed it back in through the bottom there so that it's not all, so that's fine. Okay, now let's see. So I think I'm going to bring front panel. No. And I'll manage it with that. All right, so Clint is on the top row, yes. All right, so front panel is connected. All right. So how do I want to do the USB-C and the USB-A? I think I'm going to route them. No, that's not going to work. I mean, it could, but I think it'd just be cleaner to do it through here. Okay, so it needs to be plugged in like so. There we go. And then for the other one, go ahead. And we'll bring it through. Negative, also not going to fit that way. Alright, that's fine. We'll just bring it through here. Alright, that one's connected. So that just leaves this fan for the front fans here and this audio. So I'm going to consult the motherboard manual here. Okay, there's a fan panel there. So what I'm going to do here, whoops. So I'm going to snake this up this way. Whoops. Snake it under this other one. And then what I'll do is I'll feed it up through here. And then, let's see here. It looks like it needs to go, oops, this way. There we go. I don't know what that was that fell. Motherboard manual. Alright, so, and then that just leaves this audio, which I got to figure out what that could possibly connect to, because I see there's a speaker plug there, but it doesn't match this, but there's another port over there that looks like maybe it's what I'm looking for. And this said, I think 15 is front panel audio header. And that is the one I was looking at. Alright. That is correct. Alrighty. Alright. So, let's turn it around. Get all that stuff secured and looking clean. Gotta move the power supply cable. Okay, so not the greatest, sure, but actually, I think there we go. Actually, what I'm going to do is before I do that one, I'm going to help it out a little bit. I'll just have to bring a multi-tool down here to snip that with, because I didn't bring one down. But yeah, I'll just use there we go. So that's less stress on that there. That will help keep that stuff together. And then come on, come on, come on. Sorry, I know I should be talking more and not having so much dead air, but I'm just focusing so hard on this, I'm forgetting to talk, and I apologize. But I'm going to get a cable cutter, or a wire cutter, to cut these tails off of these cables, but everything's pretty good in here. It's not 100% perfect, sure, but you know, it's good. And let me just see if I can get this guy to let go, to open up here. There's another little Velcro strap here I can use. There. Come on. There we go. So that's got a nice little Velcro holding it there, keeping it in line back there. So there's not a whole lot of snag. Everything's nice and snug, clean. I'm just gonna snip these here, and then we can put the back panel in and get the side panels put back in, and then we can post it in the case. And then what I'm going to do is load the Windows install files onto it, but I'm not going to complete the Windows install, so that way when I take it over there and set it up for them with the displays and everything, it'll be the same as if you brought one home for the first time. When it boots up, it'll ask them to finish setting up Windows. All right. There we go. All right, so those are snipped so they won't rattle inside there. So we can put this panel back on and then start buttoning it back up. We don't need the top coming off for anything, so we'll put that back in place. All right, so I need to turn it around again. All right, so I just got to put this side plate and then the glass back in. All right, I just got to get the glass. Okay, so that's going to go in this way. Oh, does it still have a film on that side? I took the film off one side already. All right, so, and I'll give the glass a cleaning when everything's installed. I'll give a proper cleaning later, but that's just to get the dust off. So, all right, it's a pretty slick looking machine. Don't know how well you can see it on camera, but it's got a nice black aesthetic going here. I think she'll like it. And like I said, it's future proof. It's got an AM5 socket. It supports DDR5 RAM. It has multiple M.2s, although I only put one in it for now. It has two that I can see, possibly a third somewhere, because that one's designated 3. It posted outside of the case, so at this point I just need to post it in the case and set up Windows on it. Like I said, at least get the install files onto the SSD. I'm not going to finish the installation. I'll let her do that with her Microsoft credentials and all that good stuff because she's getting Windows Pro. I do have the license key for that for her. So I'm going to get this hooked up to a display again and get it going some more and get it finished, set it up for her. But that is it. It's all built. It's got two 27-inch displays that are going to go with it for her, so she'll have dual displays. She's going to do mostly web with it. Nothing too demanding where she would need a GPU or anything like that. So this machine should be more than what she needs, and it's got plenty of room to be upgraded later if she ever decides she wants to use it for something different. So I'm going to take care of the rest of this off camera and call it a night because this has been a process. But thanks for watching, guys, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.